Hello, guys. This is your top flight attorney, Adebayo Adesina, coming to you from Chicago, Illinois, Virgin Hotel downtown in Chicago. I wanted to make a quick video about Vawa. I want to make a quick video about Vawa. For those of you that follow my YouTube page, I already made about 3 videos on Vawa. Vawa means violence against excuse me, women's Violence Against Women Act. It applies to immigration when an immigrant has or is going through abuse at the hands of a U.S. citizen or permanent resident. And VAWA basically is available if the U.S. citizen or permanent resident has refused to file for you, or is not cooperating, or is delaying the process of assisting you with adjusting your status. As a result, the U.S. Congress has made VAWA, Violence Against Women's Act, available to immigrants. And I want to say this happened in the late 2000, and don't quote me on that. Moving on. Now, this video is specifically about the documents you need to file VAWA, the documents needed to file for VAWA. Now, you need the Form I-360. You need the Form I-360, and if you choose to adjust your status at the same time, you can file the Form I-485 at the same time as you file the Form I-360. Now, there are 2 categories of documents to send. I describe them as 2 categories so it is clear that some are more important than the others. The first category is, I would say, the primary evidence category. And this includes your legal IDs, police reports if you have them, hospital records if you have them, court records if you have them, financial records if you have them, and of course, just because you have them don't make them applicable. It's all going to depend on the circumstances of your case. Now, the second category is the secondary evidence. Secondary evidence. Now, secondary evidence includes affidavits from witnesses. And as you can tell, those are not as strong as the primary evidence in terms of proving that you qualify for VAWA. Now, just because they're not as strong doesn't mean that they're not useful. The more affidavits, the better. So those can accompany some primary evidence to support your case and make it more likely that you will receive the green card. Now, I'm going to go through a list of documents that you should turn in with your application. The documents are as follows. Your cover letter. You should always send in a cover letter with your immigration filing, letting the immigration officer know which documents are included in your filing. This relieves the stress for the immigration officer, and it makes sure that your documents are in order and intact, and reference back is less cumbersome. Or I should say, your documents are not misplaced or mixed with other documents. So, it's up to you. but I always send a cover letter. The cover letter identifies the documents, and you should always send a personal statement. Now, some people call this different names. It depends on the term of art that you want to use. But the personal statement is basically your story, the reason why you think you need to file for Vawa as opposed to going through the proper channels and filing for green card through your spouse. Now, the cover letter will explain the entire application, the basis of applying for VAWA, the documents that are included in the application, etc. The cover letter is usually prepared by the attorney if you're working with an attorney. But if you're not working with one, you can do it yourself. Form I-360, as mentioned earlier in this guide, well, you could refer to the previous video. Form I-360, as referenced earlier in this guide, the Form I-360 is the form used to apply for VAWA. I think I already mentioned that. Applicant's affidavits. That's what I refer to as the personal statement. Some people call it the affidavit. But basically, it is an affidavit. It's a legal document in which you are swearing to the information included in the document. Your applicant's affidavits basically is your declaration, is one of the most important pieces of evidence in your VAWA application. This declaration should explain in detail how each of the elements of VAWA claim are satisfied. Now, you should work with an experienced immigration lawyer to make sure that your declaration covers all the points that should be covered. But again, I'm making these videos for people that can't afford a lawyer and want to do it themselves. So if you cannot afford a lawyer, just make sure your applicant's affidavits covers all the necessary points to demonstrate that you are indeed a VAWA candidate. Now, the next document is your marriage certificate. Now, just because you're not filing with your U.S. citizen spouse does not mean that you don't have to prove that you were indeed married to the person. So you're going to need some documents to prove or to demonstrate that, yes, indeed, there was a marriage, it was a bona fide marriage. However, due to the abuse that you are suffering at the hand of the U.S. citizen, you cannot rely on them to file for your green card for you. As a result, you're returning to file it yourself through VAWA. So in the VAWA petition, yes, you will need your marriage certificate to show, okay, I was married to this person and this person is a U.S. citizen. How do you demonstrate that? You will need the person's birth certificate or ID or something similar to that to demonstrate that, or to, provide some proof that the person was indeed a U.S. citizen when you married them. Of course, you also need your birth certificate, but that's, it goes without saying that you will need your birth certificate. The point of bringing that up in this video is to emphasize the fact that you will need your U.S. citizen spouse's birth certificate. Now, next document you're going to need is your lease agreement or deed to property. Now, if your name is on the lease agreement with your U.S. citizen spouse, that's great. You need the lease agreement. Or if your name is on the purchase document or the deed of the property that you own, you need the deed. Okay, moving on. This may potentially be used to demonstrate that you resided with the abusive U.S. citizen or lawful permanent resident. Another thing, guys, anytime I say U.S. citizen, you can replace the phrase with lawful permanent resident. Lawful permanent resident is another way of saying a green card holder. So, U.S. citizen or green card holder, if you're married to them and they abused you or are abusing you, you do qualify to file for yourself under VAWA. So now, moving on, I talked about the lease or deed of to the property. You do need a copy of birth certificate. I talked about that. Passport or green card of the abusive citizen or lawful permanent resident. So I alluded to that earlier. You need a birth certificate, passport, or green card to demonstrate that this person was indeed a U.S. citizen or permanent resident. Now, next one, you need the I-94 arrival, I-94 arrival and departure record. I get a lot of questions about this. The I-94 document is not your passport. The I-94 document is either a white sheet of paper or white cardboard that is attached to your passport after you have been inspected at a U.S. border. Now, you could be inspected at the airport, that's a U.S. border, seaport, or at a border driving to Canada or Mexico, where have you. If you cross into the U.S., you get inspected by the U.S. Border Patrol, CBP, Customs and Border Patrol, and then they issue you a I-94. Sometimes it's a white document, a white cardboard stapled to your passport. Sometimes it's a stamp. It's just a stamp. And on the stamp or on the cardboard, they include the date you arrived in the U.S. and the date you are expected to depart. So you need your I-94 arrival and departure record. And this document or this stamp usually has a tracking number. So you're going to need the I-94 number. Now, having said all that, there are times that some people don't get any I-94 number. And that's very rare, but if you don't have it, you can indicate that I do not have it. It does not prevent you from moving forward, or should not. Don't quote me on that. As always, this is all legal information, not legal advice. If you want to get legal advice, give us a call and at 312-363-9661, 312-363-9661 at Desina Law Firm, and we'll be happy to give you legal advice after you retained us. But these YouTube videos are just for information only. And before I forget, guys, please smash the likes, hit the subscribe button, and what other else buttons YouTube is asking you to hit. All right, moving on. Your I-94, we covered that. Next item is the medical records. Now, medical records apply if there was abuse and you received medical treatment. So if there was abuse, physical abuse, and you received medical treatment as a result of the physical abuse, the medical records are very important. So you should include those medical records. If you filed a police report and you have a copy, you should, as a matter of fact, you should apply for a copy of the police report and get the police report, and you should include the police report with your VAWA petition. You should include photographs of injuries if there are photographs of injuries. This may be helpful to show abusive conduct by the abuser, the U.S. citizen or permanent resident. Now, real quick before I move on, I know I've mentioned medical records and police report. These really have to do with abusive situations, physical abusive situations. And guys, as I mentioned earlier, remember you can file for Vawa, you can qualify for Vawa not only if you have endured physical abuse, you also qualify if you have endured emotional abuse. You also qualify if you have endured emotional abuse at the hands of the U.S. citizen or permanent resident. You could also qualify if you have endured financial abuse. That's one a lot of people overlook. If you've suffered financial abuse at the hands of the U.S. citizen or permanent resident, you may qualify for VAWA, because sometimes people marry U.S. citizens and they take advantage of the fact that you want this green card so much and use that opportunity to milk money out of you. That is financial abuse. So if you are a victim of financial abuse, we can put the package together. It may be much more of a hill climb than if it was physical abuse, but it is nonetheless a category that's available. And before I go on, to be clear, VAWA is available to men and women. VAWA stands for Violence Against Women Act. However, it is available to men just as equally as it is available to women. So if you're a man and a U.S. citizen spouse or permanent resident is abusing you physically, abusing you emotionally, abusing you financially, or all three at the same time, you do qualify for VAWA. Give us a call at Adesina Law Firm, 312-363-9661. All right, moving on. The reports from psychologists, that's an important one in the emotional abuse area. If you've suffered emotional abuse and you say, oh, there's no medical records, no physical, no police report, well, you could go to a psychologist or a therapist and have them write a report of your mental state of mind based on the abuse that you received at the hands of the U.S. citizen or permanent resident. Okay, next one is a signed affidavit from friends and family. Like I said earlier, the affidavits are secondary evidence, but they're evidence nonetheless. So you can get a friend, a member of your family, a colleague, a boss, a neighbor, someone that knows about this abuse firsthand and can give you an affidavit stating that they are aware of what happened between you and this spouse, U.S. citizen, lawful permanent resident spouse, and they can vouch for you. So affidavits, 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 very essential. Now, moving on, joint bank statements. Now, that one is essential for proving financial abuse in the case where you have a joint bank statement with the U.S. citizen, lawful permanent resident, and they milk your account. Joint bank statements. Pictures of you and your spouse. Excuse me. Pictures of you and your spouse are useful to demonstrate that you were married, you intended to have a bona fide marriage with this person, and for some reason, things fell apart as a result of the abuse. So the pictures are just as useful. Also, utility bills addressed to you and your spouse, and utility bills addressed to you and your spouse. Basically, if you're living together and you have bills together, those bills will serve to demonstrate the fact that there was actually a bona fide marriage between you and the U.S. citizen or lawful permanent resident. Now, final one is the police clearance letters. These are required to show good moral character. If you are 14 years of age or older, you must include police clearance letter from every jurisdiction you resided in at least 6 months. 6 months for 6 months prior to your filing. For 3 years period prior to filing your Vawa application. So everywhere you stayed for a continuous period of 6 months, you should go there and get a police clearance letter stating that you have not been found guilty or charged of any offenses. That will serve as a good moral character document, basically. All right, guys, real quick, let me wrap up. The Vawa, there are no fees to file Vawa. That's one advantage, a huge advantage. 0 fees. And you can file the Vawa with no fees. The Form 360 has 0 fees. The Form 485, the fee is $12.25 as of the time I'm making this video. The Form 485 is for adjusting your status. The fee is $12.25 as of the time I'm making this video. However, you do not have to file that with the Form 360. You do not have to file them together. You can start with the Form 360 and wait till you are approved so that you don't waste the filing fee in sending out the Form 485. All right, you can, of course, consult an immigration attorney. If you have questions, give us a call, 312-363-9661. Vawa processing time is about 18 months to 24 months. All right, guys, that's it for today. Thank you for staying to the end. Please smash the likes, hit the subscribe button, share the video to someone that you know is going through abuse at the hands of a U.S. citizen or permanent resident, and that this video would be useful to. And in closing, let me show you guys something real quick. I don't know if you can see this. Unfortunately, oh yeah, you can see it. Aren't we happy we don't have to look at that anymore? All right, guys. Smash the likes, subscribe. Thanks for watching. Bye.